I'm a rusty razor, mama. Won't cut your mare. She's a real
I just wanted a place in the mountains away from Pueblo.
don't comb her hair.
When I was a kid, my dad was happy with barbecuing in the backyard, drinking beer and all that. He never come to the mountains. I'd look west to see the blue mountains, and they were mysterious to me. It was all timber. The highway was gravel. No tourism. A few ranchers, stuff like that. I started the stone cottage in '69 after 10 years of groundwork, wheelbarrow and shovel, my dad and I. People said the rockwork looked like a castle, so long about 1972 officially the name changed to Bishop Castle.
This is probably the only true castle left in the world as far as a castle because it's been besieged by enemies. The State Highway Department trying to stop the highway signs, the Forest Service trying to stop me from hauling rock, big money, big shots with their hands in their pockets saying, what's the point of all this? And it's under siege. It's a true castle.
I wanted it open free so the poor people, everybody could use it equally. I went up to Seven Falls, a tourist attraction, one time. Was a young teenager with some family from Indiana or something, and I was climbing trails. I got up the cliffs, and all the loudspeakers, will the young man on the cliff please come down? And it costs a bunch of money to get in there and all that. I thought, bullshit on this. I'm going to build my own tourist attraction. And that's how it basically got started.
Dr. Evermore is a created character that fits around the time of around 1890. Here in America, we had great wizards that did logical stuff. Was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Edison, but nothing compared to Nicholas Tesla. This Dr. Evermore character came out of Eddington, England, and as he got older, he decided that he'd like to build this machine. The actual construction of the Forevertron, as you see it out there at this point, is not completely with all the copper and stuff on it. That took about 3 years. You would have that idea of perpetuating yourself back in the heavens on a magnetic lightning force beam inside a glass ball, inside the copper egg. Along with it, you got to have a telescope for the Doubting Thomas to see if he made it there. Oh, we have, lots of sculptures, but they're mostly all done in a fantasy level of thought. I mean, if it's a bird, it really is more of a fantasy element. Pre-existing parts that came from the Industrial Revolution. So the shape or form is like a little treasure buried within a bigger structure. I don't know what kind of name you want me to tell you, but my given name is Thomas Owen Every, and I am Dr. Evermore, who is the time binder, who believes in putting things together.
Nobody else. Not my dad, not my kids, not my wife, nobody else.
Rivers and crouching on boards. There is my intentional, my override confessional.
There's no plans ever was anywhere on anything.
To step it right. Here is my happenstance, my bored ungodly circumstance, my border crossing ignorance, and I got to step it right.
Maybe one of these days my ego won't mean that much to me. I could say I'm truly doing it in the honor and glory of God. I say that now, but I also say I'm doing it in the honor and glory of Jim Bishop. If I didn't say that, I'd be a liar and a hypocrite.
I hook a cable to a pickup truck. I drive the truck backwards so I can watch the load going up, and I use cables to pull these pickup trucks. There's no cranes, no money, not a penny owed on it, tax exempt with no lawyers. the Bishop Castle Foundation Newborn Heart Surgery, and the Bishop Castle Not-for-Profit Corporation. I consider this the only true castle left in the world.
What is it?
This is the, Paul, this is the only true castle in the world because all of the other castles are historic only. They all lost 2 battles. They lost the gunpowder battering ram cannonball battle, and in more recent modern times, they lost the battle to the courts, statutes, zoning, laws, rules, regulations. The rich people own them, the poor people get no good out of them. They all lost the battle. This is the only true under siege winning castle in the world, and I don't have no enemies.
Folks from the mountain kind of tend to understand each other, and things are understood without being said a lot of times. And like I said, I really wasn't in a financial position back then to help with the donations, because that's how Jim keeps the castle running. So I told him, hey, I really can't put any money in your donation box, but I'm able to help out by, taking care of you. And then he says, would you do it for my wife too? I said, sure. So then his wife and I became really good friends.
I'm Phoebe Bishop, Jim Bishop's wife. I think it would be safer to ask what I don't do at the castle. I don't build the castle. I do everything else. Run the gift shop, chopped firewood, hauled water, cleaned snow, maintained the house, built things, made it possible so that Jimmy could have his fun.
He is a perfect example of what one person can do if they really, really set their mind to it. We all have that capability within us. But very few of us are driven to actually push ourselves into doing something extraordinary. And that's just what he is. He's just an ordinary person doing extraordinary things.
The first time Jim did anything that convinced me that he was meant for this was his destiny, was when he put the first 2 or 3 wrought iron roof trusses up. The snow was so heavy, the fog was so thick, that standing out in the yard, you couldn't see above my knees. That's how thick it was. So looking up 70 feet in the air, I couldn't see nothing. If I couldn't see in front of my face, how could I see that far? The next morning, and he was up there putting up those wrought iron roof trusses, the first 3, that didn't have rock work, didn't have nothing to attach to. Next morning we get up, beautiful blue skies. Oh, the mountains was gorgeous with snow. Went outside to look at what he had done, and I just stood there in awe. And I said, how did you do that? He says, I don't even know. He says, it just went into place. And I says, that's proof to me that God has a hand down with a sky hook holding you up, and this is what's meant to be.
Well, most of us thought, okay, I tease Jim because I tell him, I says, back when you first started this thing, we thought you were crazy. And now we're pretty convinced you are. And you know how when you start on something and you kind of get tired of it after a while, he has a drive inside him that when he sets his mind to it, he sees way down the road, and the obstacles are only things that galvanizes him and pushes him to try even harder. And most of us didn't pay much attention and kind of joked about it and kind of laughed it off, but as we saw it develop through the years, we'd stop and take a real close look and say, hey, he's really doing this thing.
Okay, I'm Lady Eleanor Every, and I'm the other half of Tom. We build it together. He designs. I'm the other end that holds the piece for him, or things like that. Run the park. We have tour groups, paint groups, a lot of different things. With the park, it was started under total depression. And the more we worked on it, the more the tears went away, and it just built up. Now, I just do not know whatever could compare to this. And they can bring people, and they can sit down on the grass. They bring their artwork. They'll paint while they're here. they can do just about anything they want. Where when you go to a museum or that, you're locked into looking at the piece. That's it. Here, you're pretty well on your own. You can do a lot. It's a park that nobody's any better than anybody else. It doesn't matter how you're dressed, just come as you are. And it's been like that from day one. He's always worked with history. And we've got 2 children, 2 boys, 25-year-old, 41-year-old. The 41-year-old grew up with Tom, taking everything apart, going to all the wrecking jobs and really learning all of that.
Oh, I'm Thayer. Thayer Every. Happen to be Dr. Evermore's son. I don't claim to be an artist. I don't want a title.
Why is that?
I like to keep away from stereotypes. I'm not in the junk business. I'm not a junk man. I'm not a truck driver. I'm not a crane operator, but I am a special service man. I cover it all.
You look at 2 pieces of scrap metal that look alike, and they'll say scrap it, and we say that's art.
Anybody could haul the stuff in and get melted down again and that. But as you can see, we got, I don't know, several thousand ton of material scattered that is set aside for future use. But we may have gotten a little carried away. You only have so much time, and I see that with my dad. He's got a lot of ideas on the burner, and he just doesn't have the time to get everything done that he wants to do.
What do you think it is that attracts you to here? Why do you think people come here from all over?
I think a couple of things. It's the unusualness of what he's designed.
I think maybe he ran out of challenges and he just wanted to be more creative. You know, you can't scrap everything, you know, because then what do you got? We just got new stuff to look at all the time, you know. Here you're making stuff out of pieces that people have thrown away, got rid of, making something from nothing always. That's basically what we've done all the time. And it's been interesting. I can remember stuff back to 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, yes.
So.
See, Tom would make us go on the wrecking jobs, and I'd have to bundle up the children in the car, and we'd sit there for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if he came into a load in Fort Atkinson, he'd give me a call, and I'd have to bundle the kids up, and we'd have to go sit there at 12 o'clock at night to pick Tom up. And that was our path. We always worked together, always together.
Yeah, I'm walking over now to the 1/16 scale model of the castle. It ain't. I don't follow the model. It's just a promotional device. The real thing's actually getting bigger than this. The towers are getting taller. This don't have the dragon on the front. I'll fix this up again, refurnish it, and fix it all up. But I'm just a busy man. I work for a living in Pueblo. I'm up here doing interviews. I'm up here hauling rock and building the castle and trying to pay bills and trying to make a living. And there's only so much one man can do. And I get it done though, because if you want to do something right, do it yourself. That's the best way. That's the way I look at it. This is the step buttress. The reason I got buttresses, I had a little paranoia about the thing falling down. There's no way it can fall down because it's dug into bedrock, 12 foot deep here. So I started putting these fixed triangles on it. And I figured before anything up there could come down, these things got to disintegrate. It all goes into bedrock. The heavier it gets, the stronger it gets. Compression. Engineering without money is ingenuity. I ain't got no money. I don't have no high school or college degree. I've got God-given talents to build things. And there's buttresses. This is the elevator tower, 3 flights of elevator. This was one of the first arch was that big one over there. Then these 4 arches come later. And it started out as a stone cottage right there. There's gonna be a 1-room stone cottage. My dad I thought he'd be part of it. I started in June of '69, and then people start calling Rockworks the castle, and that's how it got going. All of these beams are trees off the property that I cut a flat place with the chainsaw like a sawmill before I had a sawmill. And here in the last 15 years, I built my own sawmill. And this is the bottom level here. This is the part that my dad built, this part only. There's a different style in rockwork, thinner walls. He'd scrape the mortar line. and everything else is mine. You can see the difference. And I thought it was going to be a two-man project, but it wasn't. He soon quit.
Can I ask why Canada quit?
Too much work, beer and cigarettes, that was his thing. It's just too much like work. And I don't drink. I drink a little at lunch, but I don't smoke at all. I never ever tried a cigarette. And I have the work ethic, God-given talents, and that's what's going on. Okay, we'll go up the round tower steps. Northeast corner tower of the, northwest tower of the main Castle Keep. And this is the second level area that's going to be the museum and library. A lady from the panhandle of Oklahoma, Jack and Dolores Chappie, they have a glass shop in close to the Colorado border, and she made these windows and donated them, and I installed them. Now these other windows are fundraising memorials. There's a lady that lives in Greensburg, Indiana, and they donated this window with the Pepsi, that she's crazy about Pepsi Cola. Rodenbeck's, this one right here. Paul and Ruby Rodenbeck. That one means a lot to me.
And why is that, Jim?
They're great. Well, they lived in the same town that my dad grew up in, Greensburg, Indiana. And they start coming out here because Paul's brother lives in Colorado. And they found out about the castle, and they come almost every year. And we go out to dinner with them, and then they sponsored that window. And that's a good ad. Maybe I get Pepsi as a corporate sponsor. Why not? Why not have a corporate sponsor? How about Walmart for $50 million? Just put their money in a high yield account and just go on the interest. They keep the $50 million, and we just use the money for about 10 years and renegotiate every 10 years. And they still got their money, and I got about $5 million a year on 10% interest for cement, gasoline, building materials. And then maybe they'll figure my castle is worthy because it is back into what everybody understands, money. You know. Okay, enough of that ranting and raving. I get to doing that and going nuts. Oh, here's the neat item, the blacksmith weather vane. The local blacksmith, Cord Parmenter, a man who lived at Peterson Air Force Base up by Peterson in Colorado Springs, commissioned Cord to do this many years ago. And it's quite a piece. A little bit different than the finger I normally use, but it's still a good piece there. You know. To cross over to the next tower, and this tower is Roy's Tower, named after our little boy that got killed in the woods playing. I had another name for it. I call it the Oval Office because it was kind of oval, making fun of the Oval Office. And then I got a better name, Roy's Tower. And my little boy Roy, when he was 4 years old and 3.5, he'd take people up this tower, and really happy about what's going on. And he got killed in the woods playing. Okay, we'll going up the third level with this other tower here. Oh no, this is the end of this one. We got to go up this way. I forget my own project. All of these pillars, as it turns out, every one of them, and I didn't engineer it out, it just the way it worked, come over strong points down below that goes all the way into bedrock, not over the center of an arch. And these diagonal arches give tremendous strength in earthquake and everything. I think it hold up pretty well. I just seen a documentary on the National Geographic channel called The Secret Towers of Tibet. And they're shaped in intersecting, looking down on them, they taper, and they're shaped with intersecting rectangles and 5-pointed star. So there's 5 corners that are like buttresses. And they've withstood all them Tibetan earthquakes. They were built like 700-800 years ago. Okay, now we'll head on up the staircase here to the third level hall. And this hall will be used for dances, weddings, art shows, charity fundraising. There's no rent, it's free. Just like the admission, free, donation box basis. And I really appreciate you guys being here. That's important. People need to know this is here.
I don't want to get into the intellectual voodoo on that, but the form should be foremost and take care of the function so that it's a smoothly run thing, so there's no chop off of energy. Is why that's important. Sure, you got a duty to try to do something, but the aspect of what you look at, is it pleasing to look at, or are you going to make something that's logical, like an old cook stove up there roasting peanuts? No, you see what I mean?
Now as I stand.
That door is from part of the spaceship from the Apollo mission, decontamination chamber. This is part of the door. And that's called the Moon Maiden.
There's great concern about bringing contamination from the moon back down in some bacteria or microorganisms. So there were several types of contamination chambers built. And this was one of the main ones that was built, and it weighs 32,000 pounds.
This is beautiful. This is, you can hardly see it now. Everything has to be redone. This is the moon. He's got eyes here, Moon Maiden. And he's got my birth date on it. 2/22, and I won't tell you the rest. This is his first political piece. This is a manure spreader. You pour it down here, the manure, you spread it on out, and this used to be painted gold, and it's a bearing that's falling apart. And it has to do with all the wrongs the Wisconsin state did to all the farmers. He's got on Wisconsin, and he's got a line way up here for sin on the bottom here. And this was, believe it or not, 5/5/1989. That's a pretty old piece. Farmers loved it. Okay. This is 1990. Hearts of Hearts. TOE, Thomas Owen Every. This is my signature here with the heart. It's going through the left ventricle. And then this does move. It's got a motor in it. This is the piece that Tom got really hurt on. I was painting it, flammable paint. He was welding at the top here, and his clothes caught on fire. And when he got off the ladder, he was hollering for me to help him, and he got 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over his chest. Because when he got down, I pulled his shirt out this way to put out the flames. That's what gave the flame. And it was pretty awful. He had a lot of months of therapy, a lot of months. But you wonder, when you look at this and this, how much he had in his heart for artwork, and how he jumped from this and jumped over here and then over here again too.
It's the only one quite like it, and it's got a nice mouth, the mouth on it, and it actually holds the bowling ball. It's the only one I made like that. But I'm great on making birds with different kinds of bodies on them, whether are they birds or are they fantasies. Well, birds are non-threatening to start out with. I like it. They can fly up and go anywhere. They seem like they can fit in anywhere, you know what I mean.
89. We were coming through a lot of trauma at 89. That's what it's about. A lot of trauma. Because there was 5 years of real trauma after we came out of Madison. Real trauma. And this is what it's about. So that's the Hearts of Hearts.
Now as I stand.
The Epicurean, that's the oldest piece here. The Epicurean's the oldest piece.
Epicurean? Well, you're, by the time you're getting all this done, you're getting cotton picking hungry, aren't you? So you had to have something to feed your gut, and if you wanted something that'd be working, that's the most exotic backyard barbecue that I know of. I don't know of anything quite like it, but.
Tom asked me if mine was big enough, you know, these little round ones. And I said, it's pretty good. He says, I'll make you something a little bigger. This is what he made me.
You pick up your sandwiches there, and Evermore, I know, likes popcorn, so he's got old factory popcorn machine. You pick up your popcorn there.
This is my popcorn stand. It goes on here. Gonna make a lot of money. So that's my popcorn stand.
Yes, the Overlord Master Control Unit is sitting out there, and there is 7 magnetic lightning cannons. Then there's a cannoneer station. And so they're looking out with periscopes. If anybody on the ground is going to be threatening this operation, they can shoot those, well, they're like laser guns, and hit you in the butt, not to kill you, but to make you smile, you know. And then the next, you go up to the next layer, and it's kind of like a big round egg up there, and which the master control guy is sitting up there looking at the gauges.
When you take the difference between an artist and a scrap dealer, scrap dealer knows it's about 50 cents to $1 a pound. To an artist, it's worth thousands of dollars, as is. And that's what they wanted me to do, is to just get rid of them. But for Tom, you can't replace it as an artist.
Heading for the 3rd level. Here's the 3rd level hall again. I'm a wrought iron worker. I quit high school, I went to work in my dad's wrought iron shop. So I wanted a steep roof that'd be strong and it'd shed all the water and the snow, which that one does. So I designed these wrought iron roof trusses. And with no cranes, the very first roof truss is buried in the front gable, buried in the rock. You could set an Abrams M1 tank down up there if you set it down easy, and that would hold it. If you dropped it that far, it'd probably just keep right on going, the inertia, the momentum. But this is stout. Them stone trusses are real stout. I was nervous. I'm paranoid about a lot of things, whether it's going to be damaged by the weather and stuff. And one summer around the 4th of July, just after I put it in, big storm developed down here with golf ball sized wind-driven hail. And it was on a weekend with a lot of people around, and I heard the hail coming sound like a freight train. And I told everybody, get over against the walls in case that glass breaks. And that was pelted with golf ball sized ice. Didn't phase it, just bouncing off it. And I was elated. I was running around screaming and hollering. The hail was piled up. They had to get a winter snowplow to move the hail off the road. It's rock touching rock. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So this is real stout because, and mostly always rock touches rock all the way up. And one good example here, my dad built this part only up to here. You see the different style. My dad built this part right up to here. And he did thinner walls. He drank a lot of beer, and he'd hide the beer cans from my mother. He'd put them in the wall. It's full of beer cans, little hollow places. So I did my thicker, heavier walls on top of his thinner walls, and I thought that'll be a good test of strength. If I got all this heavier weight up above thinner walls, and these walls hold up and don't crack and cave in, then all my heavier walls that are heavier at the bottom are even stronger than this one. So this is my peace of mind tower. A good movie has theme music. A movie ain't worth a damn without theme music. And I'm no actor, I'm real, and this is greater than the movie. So where is the orchestra and the band off in the woods playing? You know, when I start moving around, they should be a drum roll. and they should strike up the band and all that kind of stuff. I mean, for Christ's sakes, if you go to a movie, it ain't worth a damn without music, right?
When it all seems so real, like you could never be burned. Wash band plays ragtime on an old worn-out skull. Play pieces of madness through rusty jungle cranes. As the handmaid goes martyred on the penitent's ball. Blow back the promise of long old restless wood and heave toward the garbage of bondage and blocks.
Oh, let's walk the outer balconies. We haven't done that.
While sitting near river.
The way this works, it's real strong even though there ain't no columns on the edge, is because right under our feet are fixed triangles in wrought iron scroll work, mild steel, no scaffolding. I did this all hanging from the rope. People come out here, they say, how do you know this all hold up? And they'll be out here, and I said, watch this. And boy, it ain't going nowhere. I built it. This is a chimney tower. And it's going to be quite a controversial artistic chimney because it's going to be called the Titty Rump Rump Roof. It's going to be sung to the Lone Ranger theme song, Titty Rump, Titty Rump, Titty Rump, Rump, Rump. I'm going to build I'm making a wooden form and chainsawing it, a form of a woman with a neck, no head, maybe for the better, no offense, but a headless woman, no arms, but 4 boobs and 4 butts. And the legs in down the chimney down here, and all the smoke's going to come out the neck. And if it ain't enough volume, it'll have 4 smoking rumps. And I wonder how Custer County Commissioners are going to like that one. This is one form of scaffolding. I put hooks in the rock work, wrought iron hooks with wrought iron hangers that hold the boards. Then as I take the scaffold, I leave the hooks, and the hooks can hold flower pots for decoration and stuff. Let the castle build itself. This castle's its own scaffolding. The castle's its own crane with a pulley at a high point. As long as you can maintain a pulley at a high point, you don't need no crane. What would a crane cost? $50,000 for a few days, plus the operator? You know, no wonder if things are in debt and can't pay off this and that. The medieval fire-breathing dragon made out of discarded stainless steel hospital trays. There's 4,200 pop rivets holding it together. The lower jaw hinges, the lower jaw is 7 foot long. The 2 eyeballs are Michelob beer bottles with light fixtures behind them. The nostrils is a chimney for a stove down below, and the mouth burns a fire-breathing dragon, propane and kerosene or high pressure. Hi, folks. Good. Look all around. Help yourself. Beg pardon, Paul.
You want my oratorio or my conversational? On the great hand of God I stand and proclaim mine innocence. Well, when I teach hydraulics and pneumatics and applied fluid mechanics, power mechanics. Though the sinless hosts of heaven had foretold the coming of this most desolating breath. I've been a heavy equipment operator, heavy equipment mechanic. I've been an electrician and a plumber, and I, grew up on a farm. The work of uninspired man, its quaking thunders, its firmament clogging rottenness, his own achievement in the due course of nature. A jack of all trades, that's me. Yet had I not believed it, but had said the pit itself hath furnished forth this stink. My emotions are very close to the surface, and heaven's artillery hath shook the globe in admiration of it. That's Mark Twain, by the way.
I relate good to the people who are doing something. People who are just diddling around, I don't want to have much to do with, or just talk about something. Many a times in the industrial wrecking job, before they even got the contract out, I would have had the damn thing off the property and gone.
Well, just about every bit of video I've seen on him where they've sat down and interviewed with him, he talked about being an industrial wrecker, a salvager, And when you are done, if you're good at it, there's nothing left. It's just a flat plane, an empty canvas, if you will. And he's always said that it left him feeling like something's wrong here. And so, I mean, I'm guessing he's been a pack rat for a very long time, and that there would be interesting tidbits of stuff he would find as he was disassembling something that he couldn't get rid of. Just had to have them, you know. And this way he decided to try to make something, to put it together, and apparently that's how it all got started with him.
And I do know this much, we may be in as many as 35 books. And then there's been quite a few fine documentaries that we've been associated with, and filmmakers that are here from Ripley, believe it or not, or Discovery Channel. The best one I happen to like was the History Channel, because they associated me with the scrap people. And this is a guy that looks at something a little bit different. Now, you know, so all the scrap people talked about they're recycling automobiles, airplanes, and computers and everything else. Now, they had me kind of tied on the end of that on the History Channel, and they keep shooting that over and over again. I feel kind of honored to be associated with my people in the scrap industry, so that makes me real happy.
Well, you asked me how did I meet Doc Evermore? Well, we have a mutual friend, and the mutual friend is the kind of a guy who likes to go around to junkyards and stuff like that, and of course, you know, here we are, right? I mean, when you look at this stuff, as I said, I'm a techie by training. When I first saw his work, you know, I see the Forevertron. I see it the way it is. I see it as an entity. And then I step in closer and I begin to recognize, oh, that's a dynamo. Oh, that's a steam engine. Oh, that's a water pump. Oh, those are gears. That's a worm, you know. Tuk, 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 tuk. And that draws me in because I begin to take it apart and understand the constituent parts in it. And that's the thrilling part to me.
Now, this stuff here, the one has been working on here for the last 20 years or so or more, is just a case of looking at the stuff and seeing a energy force within it and respecting that and building pieces out of it. But other people enjoy that because some of them can identify whether it's a bunch of old farm machinery in there and oh my gosh, now it's used as something else. There was nothing used as it originally was intended for.
Well, after I met Tom at the party there in Menominee, I talked to Roger and I said, we got to go down and see this guy's stuff. We just have to go down. So I introduced him to Roger, and of course, Roger is an artist in his own right, and we came up here to look at the stuff here at the site, and Roger had a video camera and was walking around looking things, shooting things. A couple of weeks, maybe a month later, Roger said, you know, we got to go back down there. We have to go back down there. I said, okay, just taking it as written, you know. And he said, because when I was showing the video that I shot to Barbie, his wife, he said, it's only then when I discovered what he was about. But then as I thought about it, I went, well, you know, Roger's trained as a classical studio artist. Your work is here, it's this, you know, the biggest thing about you is the perimeter of your studio. And to come out here and go, whoa, you know. And so I really understood, I think, that to bring it down into a manageable image on the screen, that was like, oh, epiphany, pop, 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 pop. The other thing that blows me away is just the sheer mass of work here. I mean, I got a lot of what I think are good ideas, but I don't have the gumption to carry most of them out, and they evaporate into space. Look at this, it's here. I mean, my God.
If I ever make it back to Senatobia.
We're at a family gathering and my brother came in and he said, you know, it's pretty clear to me that that sculptor friend of yours is special. Because the other day I went out and looked at my scrap iron pile and all I saw was scrap iron. I thought, yeah, that really is the difference between Tom and most of us mortals, you know. Yeah.
Would you take us to your absolute favorite?
Oh, the absolute favorite, gotta tell you, it's this hawk over here. But the most fascinating part is if you get up close and look at it, what the forehead and the cheeks would be, it's the three jaws. And obviously this massive sort of Victorian era all these rivets. See these massive chains in here and massive shock springs and all these things. And I look at this thing, first of all, the compound eye are all surveyor marks, you know. The littlest kid can walk up here and basically put this mask on, step into the mask, you know. And trust me, the kid inside me right now is soaring through the sky. This just amazes me.
I think it'd be a catalyst of inspiration for other people to feel good around, and the energy forces on every single thing that is involved in that particular Forevertron set or whatever it may be is good. And then we have a few thousand ton of material that other young people could use up. And I kind of was in this kind of a business before the word of recycling was even involved, and got cast outs from industrial plants. Not only that's anybody can do anything with scrap iron, brass, copper, and steel.
Okay, I'm in Roy's Tower. I'm heading up to the 5th level of the square tower. And in this tower, the steps are cantilevered steel reinforced concrete. I pour one at a time. In places, the big end goes in first. In other places, the little end goes in first to make it go straight or to make it curve one direction or other. That's just another style of building a tower. Some of the towers got steel steps. This tower's got concrete steps. Cantilever, the compression of the weight of the wall holds a step in place. They actually stick out with no supports out on the other edge, other than this steel hand-built railing. My father, Willard Bishop, was quite ingenious when it come to making equipment out of junk parts and stuff. He was a scrap metal man too. He'd take just stuff from junkyards and build a whole shop full of stuff in Pueblo. He built a little hand-operated cam that would make this bend without heating it. Okay, I'm coming out of Roy's Tower. I'm coming out onto the 5th level balcony. Another wrought iron balcony. It's up at the 5 levels high, and it goes into the square tower. Well, nobody's been hurt here. There's been no lawsuits except that criminal lawsuit where they're saying that my son and I beat up the mother of the bride, that we shot up the whole castle with guns. I'm not hurting nobody here. And for them to try to railroad my family because they couldn't control me with zoning. You know what? I can get the word out without ranting and raving too. Some people say, well, it's only a matter of time. Well, everything's only a matter of time. I can't control somebody that will jump this thing. Hell, I might decide to climb over the damn thing and jump it myself. I mean, hell, but the trouble with it is, if I decided to jump this tower, if I decide to jump this tower, I might land on some fat politician and screw him up, and then I might have a lawsuit to take care of him, and I might survive and have to pay for this fat ass politician the rest of my life.
Hey, come back over, Jim. Tell me about
See, they're safe as far as the integrity of my building. I mean, now like this, see, I'd have a hell of a time trying to break that. Now, on the other hand, if they were horsing around and some tall guy, some guy pushed a guy and he fell over, I can't control that. And the worst thing that person would be doing, even worse than the guy getting killed, they'd be generating government that would try to pin something on me or them generating. We got too goddamn much fornicating, copulating government.
Back to the point, Jim.
That interstate's full of people traveling. There needs to be an interstate sign down there. I'll park that truck down there. I'll park that truck with a sign with flashing lights, 72 hours of moving. Put another truck with a sign. Castle 24 miles. I don't give a shit about the rules and regulations. I'll do it myself. Fornicate them bastards. There should be a crowd of people here right now. It's beautiful up here. Where the fuck are they all? God damn you motherfucking bastards. This is more important than the Royal Gorge or any goddamn thing else. Oh, this is the fire-breathing dragon, which a lot of Christians think is some Satan symbol. Fornicate them too! It ain't no goddamn Satan symbol. Satan don't have it no more. I got it. It's mine now. Satan don't have the dragon no more. I took it.
Anyway, what's the structure underneath it too with the dragon? Or actually, I'm sorry, back up. Tell me about what happens during the summer with the dragon.
Well, the dragon is a fire-breathing dragon. It's been propane and kerosene out the mouth. My son Dan, the guy running the, getting ready to work the sawmill and unloading the log, he's making a device that I'm going to install that'll be high pressure air and gasoline. But isn't this ridiculous? Look at this, a beautiful day like today and nobody's here. Well, we're here, I guess that's the important thing. It don't matter what you call it, who gives a shit. The important thing is you just do it. Okay, I'm gonna enter the square tower and head on up. Here's the first bell in the tower. There'll be many bells. I'm gonna ring it a little bit. Okay, now I'm getting ready to climb out through this opening onto the unfinished chimney tower. Chimney tower, fireplace, three flues for the 3 fireplace down below. A flue here, a flue there. Smoke. What do you think?
I don't know, it's your call, Jim.
What do you think? Oh shit, I'm gonna go on down it. Okay. Get ready to follow me on down if I miss. Oh hell, there ain't nothing to it. Look, Ma, no hands! See if the ladder goes, I still got the rope. And that's a good rope. You think OSHA would approve that scaffold, that ladder? Anybody down there? That one didn't survive. The first one did. Yeah, I'm real proud of this work here. This is coming out good. Walking across the bridge, heading north, heading for the Pause Tower, the geodesic sphere tower. It's on 5-ball bearings. It rotates. There'll be sheet metal fins on the outside. As it rotates, it'll spin alternators charging batteries and be an orbital generator. There's 300 triangles. All 300 of these triangles will be 1/4-inch tempered plate glass see-through mirrors like the roof, only mirrors, reflective. And on a clear sunny day like today, as it rotates, it'll reflect sunlight down and into deep space and all around all these faceted mirrors, attracting aliens as well as people. I'm gonna cross on over. I'm gonna cross on over now and I'll come up at the top of the square tower right from where you're at. It won't take me but a minute. Heading up the square tower. There they are. Continuing on up. I'm right up here with the lightning rod now. Hey, I'm right on top of the world. Right on top of the spire. Look, Ma, no hands. Yeah, this is up in the air. It's really a good view all around here. I can see a couple deer over there, a couple does.
This is about 9,200 feet above sea level and 200 feet above the highway.
I don't wait for women. They always expire. Their shadows turn ugly.
I'm gonna head down, the wind's cold up here. Too windy.
I wanna be an artist, my own blood. I wanna be a stagehand riding in the mud with your wild arms, your warning face. I got a bad religion, a 45. Oh, the shell of my soul, oh, come and fly.
This little park here happened because Tom needed a place to weld, and is very, very far from the art park, but it'll be pulled together. All of this artwork is at a 12-degree angle.
And what have you thought about this park? What does it mean to you?
I didn't like it at all when it first happened. I now know when I was sitting here and watching it again, 2 years, 3 years later, this is pretty spectacular. Totally, completely different than his other artwork from the park. And it's more straight lines. Everything in the park really has swirls in it. He's got circles here, but it's a different kind of a circle than the swirl. Everything he has here has writing. This one has the writing in here. The other one's down the base, has the writing. And this is a piece of land we kind of have an interest in purchasing, hopefully. Now I'm supposed to be standing at a 12-degree angle out here, so I should be standing this way. Okay, I have to stand this way because this is a 12-degree angle. I can't do it. This is the meditation chair. It's supposed to sit like this here. That's just strictly for meditating and thinking. That's all it is. I have mine at the park that rocks. Tom doesn't like that, but mine rocks. And then the other person sits on this side. He calls it the lover's chair too. That's quite the bearings. They're pretty wonderful. This one is the inside world, 10/28/03. That means he's making them about 2 to 3 days apart. This is Forevertron. Wow. Totally, completely. They belong with the UFO. 12-degree angle. These belong with the UFO.
Drop the cards, watch your blood run cold.
It's called the twist conjecture, okay, of Forevertron. And then he has the 2 hearts, which is my initials. That's Eleanor Every. It's got 2 E's there and 2 E's there. And then he's got his signature on there, which I didn't know this was set up this way. It's a compliment. They're beautiful. It's the same, 2 hearts. I've been honored here. Didn't know it. Okay, this one was built 11/11/03. Soul first, S-O-U-L and F-I-R-S-T, first. Your soul first. 11/11/03. There's my initials again. 2 hearts, which you'll see is E-E. And then it's the Forevertron and Tom and the 2 hearts. Wow.
You didn't know that those were there?
Had no idea.
Really?
Uh-uh.
So what does that mean to you?
means his heart was with me. Okay. This is called the Night Watch. And this is 10/26/03. In a game, again, the same setup, the hearts, the date, and his special signature, which it's a little different, but it is T.O. Every, Thomas Owen Every. So this is quite an experience, seeing it in this light. Quite a nice one. What have we got here? Rock bell. No wonder, look at here. It's movable. This is something we would all have to watch out with the children. They'd have fun as a teeter-totter. I'm sorry I got emotional.
That's okay.
I didn't realize it.
I'll say he's a true, genuine, reincarnated pirate. He's a Dr. Evermore, just like Sir Henry, what they called Pirate Henry Every. Yeah, that's Tom. And I mean, you can just picture his whole back story of his life. There's the Tom here, and then the pirate comes in, and there's the Tom here, and the pirate comes in, and there's the Tom here, and then the pirate comes in. And it took me 40 years to realize there's no changing this man. And we need to work around him and work with it. It's not been an easy road. It's been a difficult one because of it. Pirates get into trouble. They create trouble, and everybody else picks up the pieces. So that's part of why we're kind of keeping him away from the finger parts of this, trying to get this settled now, because we don't want the pirate to come in here right now. Not right now. He can do enough trouble at the nursing home.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about how it's not so much that he wants to be known as like some eccentric artist, but as for the metal salvage. Would you tell us about that, please?
I think he felt more like a man. Much more like a man. Strong, a very strong person when he was in the industrial wrecking. And I don't feel he feels that way in the art field. There's just some things that doesn't give him that power. He doesn't feel it, and yet you look at his artwork, you know that's power. But he doesn't feel it. And he wants to be recognized as the industrial wrecker in the scrap field.
Instead of make some noise. They'll come and they'll go like that. And I feel it's so big and so giant, make some noise. Normally he likes to go like this. Upside down.
So for the camera, tell us what you're doing.
Well, I got this. See, I've been really upset with the castle builder down there, you know, I'd call him Dad if I wasn't upset. Because since I was about that big, I've been listening to him say when he starts a wall around the property, he's going to equipment. He's going to get equipment, cranes and shit like that. What's he got? A Nissan truck and a Harbor Freight winch. Oh, wow, nice crane, dude. Really, the hardest part is getting the tree in here. It's not easy to just go out and grab a log like that when you don't have a skidder or something like that, you know, logging equipment. But I'm trying to build a crane on this thing, and got a bumper winch, and then I'm gonna take these logs that I salvaged off of some property over here. I got paid $50 a tree to take these ones out. Put them on the truck and then haul them down to the sawmill. We've been living in that structure with that looks like a 2-story shack, cabin, whatever, since I was about 8. I like to create things. This place gives me the freedom to take my mind and the junk that's on the property and build something out of it. I got what I like to call my little operation Berserker Engineering, because the Berserker thing just whole fits me, being Bishop's son, you know. And I did build things like fire-breathing units for the Dragon's Mouth. But I enjoy being up here. It's great. I went through a period where I couldn't be here for a while. Things had happened. Little brother got killed when I was running a chainsaw up here when I was 15. He was 5. And I took off and went and explored the world, you know, sow your oats or whatever it is. And the worst thing I found out was I don't get along with people. I'm an antisocial socialite. Got to have them, but I don't like to be around them, you know? I've had drug addiction. I've been addicted to speed and crank and crack and the speed. Once you're a speed addict, you always have that speed behavior, you know what I mean? And it don't work well, really, up here. Everybody wants to know, you gonna finish this when he's gone? I don't think I'm not crazy enough to do it. I really don't. I'm not eccentric enough. I know that. I have my own quirks, and I'm not the worker that he is. I don't know. I guess the problem with not allowing your kids to help you do what you're doing is they get lazy because they don't have to do it. Plus, I have 2 children that I'm raising on my own, and I'd rather be here living somewhat impoverished and raising them on my own and now making $1 million and having some pervert screwing them up, you know? How many people do you know that don't spend but about maybe an hour and a half a day with their kid, you know? They've got some teacher out there that's doing it. And into breaking that strap watch. A lot of people think he's really angry, and the truth of it is, he's performing. Because over the years, we've learned that if he puts out a real energy into the work and like that and rants and raves, the donations are triple.
How come that fucking Art ain't putting on light taking? Fuck Art! I don't give a fuck about Art. He can go to fucking hell. And he can shove his log splitter up his fucking ass. The motherfucker.
The judgmentalism of a free bishop is just fucking wonderful. Everybody's well, it's bad if they don't build castles.
Goddamn right.
To where if he comes up and sits around, hi, how's it going? Nice day and all that. They like that too, but people pay to watch suffering and shit like that. What do you watch on TV and NASCAR? You go to watch NASCAR, you don't want to watch the guy that wins. You want the guy that's wiping out and wrecking the wall, and then you go on talking about him dying for the next 25 years, you know?
When our little boy was killed, then it became Roy's Tower, because that little guy was only 3 and 4 years old, and people would come in the yard, he'd grab him by the hand and say, you got to come to the top of the tower. And it was the highest tower at that point. And he'd climb up those, 80, 90 some steps?
Yeah.
30 times a day with people, and show them the top of the tower and come on down with them. Now, before you got to leave, you got to go in my mama's gift shop. So then, of course, when he died, then we named it Roy's Tower.
The depression came on with the little brother because I've been cutting firewood up here since I got my first chainsaw when I was 13. Castle builders don't have time to heat the house, you know. I've been growing up for quite a while, and then my little brother went everywhere with me. And there was a wind-blown tree across the road that When the wind blows them over, it brings a stump up, and the roots are sticking up a ball of dirt. And I went over there to cut it up one day after school in the beginning of spring, and he decided to crawl in that hole and play in there, and when I cut it loose, it just went back in the hole and suffocated him in there. And you still never get over that kind of shit. You just learn how to deal with it. But I've learned to love it, hate it, live it, you know. Some days it's all right. This place is a real psychological experiment here to show you what's wrong with the world. Open your eyes to everything. There we go. The first time the castle made any kind of national news was the APB wire service. My little brother getting killed by the tree because it was a freak thing. Dad had a real problem with that, you know what I mean? He felt that he was worthy at that time, and he definitely was. Okay, I got the log, the tree, on the sawmill here. First thing you do is you take and you slab it, turn it, square it out. The reality of it is I learn something about what I'm doing every time I do it, you know. So you might learn with me. It's gonna be cold right now, it's gotta warm up.
Where the money goes, here is where your heart will find its way among the stones on the boulevard. A lonesome heart, a restless heart.
I just do my work, and you know, like when our little boy got killed, I just worked through it. I can work and cry, work and talk, work and rant and rave. I just kept working. No need in trying to run away from her or nothing. I just worked through it. And I still haven't completely got over that. But it takes time, but it's healing up.
Here's your raft of matchsticks, and the Nile's all you see. And every day is like a penny lost, like that dime I can never find. But a soldier's joys are simple, and all things pass in time. When everywhere's no longer home.
This I find, if I'm mad at Tom, this is the only way to do it. Snick him on the cheek. Oh, he would start with the stories. He would change the story. Instead of being little boy who was playing with electricity in 1800, then all of a sudden it was some mysterious, mystical thing somewhere, some other land.
He has his own way of explaining his sculpture pieces and leaves people stumped. Is that true? You know, their curiosity has gone to a certain point, and he's taken them off into some new storyland, and nobody knows which is fact or fiction anymore.
He changed the story on me. And so I'm not lying to them, but I don't know totally which story Tom is really going by. I guess I have to say that Tom had too many years of being the pirate, and I had no idea what the name was for it. And he had a lot of problems paying his workers. So it was very difficult to fight anything. And so that was my job here. Absolutely nobody was allowed to work here unless they're paid the same day. He said that he says, you know, Eleanor, I never thought about the wage part of anybody. I was so busy enjoying building things and tearing down things, and that wasn't his front, you know, thought, is to make sure everybody was paid for. And I can believe in that, because that is where his thinking was. It got him into trouble. Part of what happened in Madison was the House on the Rock.
The only compliment I ever got from Alex was he leaned back and he says, "Man, this is really something." Then he walked away and he says, "Well, it costs a lot of money." Well,
And that was the profession of Alex Jordan, is to divide and conquer and separate people and make them fight with each other. And that was a pretty bad stage of the business, and that ended the business. 1982 was the end of the business. 1983 was the start of the artwork.
they haven't had any creative people down there since 1982. That's when I left, but there's nobody down there with any vision or imagination.
And then the trouble went with Tom is totally anti-taxes, and that wasn't his concern, and that got him into trouble. I lost the house, and then he got into trouble with the House on the Rock. That ended up he had to go to jail, and he was there for 8 months.
What happened?
Contract theft, but that's actually not what happened. It was so organized and so controlled. We had no attorneys to really fight it all. It's a movie. It was a pretty horrible scene. And so that's why he started the project up here in '83. But at the time that I was losing my house, he was up here doing artwork. The children and I were cleaning out the house, 32 rooms, out of panic, out of everything. And then in January, I think 4th, I think it was, when they came in with big trailers and just took us completely out of the house for 2 weeks. Judge let us go back in. So I lived in that house from the January till June with no furniture. No furniture, no blankets. Children's clothes were gone, books were gone, everything was gone. That is what Dane County and the city of Madison did. And we had no way of fighting it, but it's Tom and his attitude of don't pay the taxes. I refuse to pay the taxes. Whether it's sales tax, whether it's house tax, whatever the tax is, he's not going to pay it.
Oh yeah, he's got his different ways of looking at things, you know, and he kind of tries to influence people his way, you know, and it may not be always right, practical or that, but you know, it makes an impact.
During a time frame, and there's different time frames, it was a duress time frame, and whereas you wanted to get away from all the lawyers and politicians and the upheaval in the cultural world and get directed onto something more positively, and that's what was pulling me away from make more money in the scrap business and all that stuff. You end up with different purposes, and I took that particular road at that time.
January 4th, we moved in. February 19, Tom was put in jail. Then Thayer was arrested also.
Why?
His heart broke, and he just stood up and screamed in the court and said, it's not true, it's not true. And I had to go clear across the room to get him and take him out in the hallway. Well, then he really got mad, and I was between him and the door, but he never hit me, so they put it in the newspaper. An aunt was hit. They arrested him, and
Is that true,
no, none of it was true.
Tell me about some of the things you've had to do then to move and some of the hardships. Anything that you've had to sell or anything that's been quite difficult here.
At the park here? I sold the Big Bird, and that's really what I wanted to keep as a park piece. But I can't keep all park pieces now. I have to bring in the money. And I don't want to lean on anybody. I don't want to borrow. I don't want a mortgage. And it means that if we have the resources, then I need to start tapping into it.
How difficult was that then to have to sell the Big Bird?
Well, maybe I didn't sleep for about 3-4 weeks. The gut feeling that something part of you was going. And then The gut feeling was, how in the world was I going to take that apart at 20 degrees? But it went to a wonderful spot.
Where did it go?
Visionary Arts Museum, Baltimore, Maryland. Pretty nice spot. And that's why when we move this park, it'll be honest. All the way down the line. I'll deal with the pirate. He's working on me too.
To strap yourselves, you sons of Abraham, to rocks impaled. Turn to try to lose it. Your thumb down.
Growing up here, I've learned that the biggest valuable lessons you learn in life come only from the bad things that happen to you. And, you know, there's been a bunch of bad shit happen up here.
Okay, on the you want to know about the incident of the August 24th, 2002, the wedding party. These particular individuals that come in here for the 92nd wedding, they were coming here real early in the morning. Actually, against my rules, I told them they could have some beer, wine, champagne toast, not to get drunk.
Showed up in the morning, I was up here I put myself in self-rehab, really. Get away from the cocaine. I'd filed bankruptcy, lost everything I had. Come up here with my wife, who was really the one who had the problem. And in the process of fighting her, I just ended up joining her. She didn't make it happen, but I did it, you know. And she was up here recovering, and I was up here recovering, and they show up at 6 o'clock in the morning with kegs and booze, and I'm sure there was drugs.
They rolled, I was in Pueblo doing something. My son lived here. They come rolling in here like real early in the morning, woke up my son with loudspeakers playing, a bunch of noise, wanting to unload kegs of beer and use the elevator. Well, we unload the beer. That's probably a mistake of ours. We should have kicked them out right then and there.
And just went on to walk all over the place all day long, disobeying every little thing around here that's signed to keep children under control. Don't drive in there, in and out. About run a couple people over or something.
Well, anyway, they partied for 14 hours. It was getting dark, and they were proceeding, some of the drunks, to fall down the steps getting hurt. So I ordered them out of here, and they start arguing.
I got 2 phone calls about all-night rave party, wedding rave party at the castle. I just come out and told them, you guys are out of control, you're gonna have to go, and they refused.
They're accusing me of charging in on them and beating up the mother of the bride with my fists. My son also, we both beat her up. We both pulled guns out of our waist and handguns, shotguns, rifles, and shot up the castle and shot at them. They start cussing and screaming at him, so I run up the steps in defense of him. The women retreated off the balcony into the hall. I went into the hall, and 1 or 2 guys on each arm grabbed me, restrained me, defending the women. I start thrashing around so they couldn't push me off my own balcony. The mother of the bride got right in my face, and as a headbutt, she split her lip with left a tooth mark in my hand, in my forehead. Her lip was bleeding. She split her lip, and they're saying that I hit her with my fist in the face with my fist, beat her up.
I just got to grab a shotgun and shot off about 3 or 4 rounds out the back window, totally different direction. It wasn't even all that scary to them. It couldn't have been, because one of them, what the hell was that? My dad, well, that's a shotgun. You might want to be getting going. But I've learned in this world, it's the person who calls cops first that gets the favor of the doubt.
The government jumped on me. They couldn't control me with zoning, so they tried to put me and my son in jail for about 30-some years on about 18 criminal counts on me, 17 on my son, false charges. Well, I was thrown in jail with a $50,000 cash only 5 days later, taking my little girl to school in Pueblo.
Well, I agree. I recklessly endangered him when I let him in here with booze at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know. I'll do 30 days just so I remember not to let him come driving in with a keg at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know. I believe in respecting the land and the people that you have to deal with every day. You don't have to give them anything. You don't have to do good for them, but just respect the fact that they can do what they want, breathe the air they want to breathe, and in the same, they should in turn do the same for you. And this guy got us off. I had to do 30 days for misdemeanor, no felony charges. I was starting to wonder if karma worked until he showed up, you know what I mean? And you just wouldn't look, he wouldn't think he was a lawyer when he walked up, hunting coat and I'd love to defend you, because we put a sign out there. Dad has a sign, it's up here somewhere, that said, lawyers, politicians, bureaucrats, you should be ashamed of yourself, get a real job. Well, he put another one next to it after that happened. Prove me wrong, we need a good lawyer. And this guy come in and said, oh, I'd love to. I just love to go into a little town. Nobody knows me. Come in, they think I'm a hick, and we walk out the back door after we've kicked their ass, you know. And he wanted to do it for free. I told him, no freebies. I'm sitting in jail for 8 years from now because it didn't work. I don't want to feel like I didn't put something into it. And I'll pay you whatever you want, but I'm not going to pay. I can't pay it now like you would want. My testimony on the stand, I just come out, he's like, let's just be honest with him and tell him who you are and what you do, because you're up there trying to heal, you know, and you got this party happening out there. I got up there and I've been a coke addict to the freaking jury, and the DA takes and scratches out that paper and turns the page. Broke into house and stole crap. I've gone to jail for all this stuff. And he just keeps doing this. When it goes down to the end, you know, he's cross-examining. He only had one question for me because everything he was going to throw at me, I just put it in his face, you know. I learned from that thing that honesty might not get you anywhere generally and when you're out on the street. But when you're really in a bind and your life is dependent on it, it's the only way to go, man. Them 16 people respected the fact that I was honest with them. I was pretty adamant before that there was no freedom left in America. The system didn't work. And now I'm adamant that the only freedom comes in education. I mean, a 6-day, 5-day trial was really nerve-wracking. It's an experience that was awful, but at the same time, I don't think anybody in America should not come past a certain age, 18, 19, without sitting in front of one and watching it happen. We wouldn't have half the problems because you wouldn't be afraid. You would know you're still innocent until you prove you're guilty.
The only time I've ever really been in court is with this false charges on these criminal charges. Usually I'm in their county courthouse at county commissioners meeting reading constitutional laws to them, which really pisses them off when you know more than their lawyer knows and they're paying the lawyer. The local district magistrate, Julie Marshall, who's active attorney number 6629 with the State Supreme Registry, active lawyer, conflict of interest. She's not a judge, she's a magistrate, and she's not immune to prosecution. Judges are, but magistrates ain't. She put a $50,000 cash only. I couldn't bond out of jail. That's a violation of Amendment 8 of the Constitution. Cruel and unusual punishment, excessive bail, presumption of guilt to proven innocent, extension of jail bars. But there ain't been nothing after that. Okay. Once we learned how to make them answer to us in paperwork, they backed away from us. I'm innocent. A criminal's hands don't look like that. My hands are honest hands.
The open road's a policy. It's a title that you sign with deed.
I think it's a dynamic thing to have a sculpture which is made from other sculptures, which all the stuff here is made from the Industrial Revolution, but nevertheless it pulls these multi-levels is what I'm talking about with this thing here too. And all this stuff has got pretty much many levels in it when it comes to it. Well, I'm kind of a land pirate, collector, hoarder of metals. That's brass, copper, stainless steel, and of course steel for scrap. So Lord only knows how much it costs, but it's a historic thing, and then I think our value systems are screwed up anyway, whether it's pounds or yens or anything else. So the pirate part about it, my relative who was a pirate, he took all kinds of treasures off the high seas and stuff like that. But people throw way too much stuff away, and so you might as well just, and they don't pay any attention to what it is, you know. Just get rid of it and bury it or something like that. So these are buried treasures locked into art, and there is tons of them. Well, we never intended this place to be a location where we're going to put it anyway, but we haven't ever figured out where we're going to put the thing down. But the most important thing is what you did this morning, what you flew over. Well, it has to do with energy. So when you come into the park, you got to look at it horizontally. It's got to flow energy-wise as you're walking along. That's one way. But if you got this other dimension, then you zero in on Earth, and then you keep going down to, well, this is a point here. Let's say if it's in Wisconsin, you can see this whole other picture, kind of like the Peruvian principle, where you looked at the stick man for the air, you know, sending messages to who knows who, you know. That heart down there is a inch and 3/4 inch piece of steel, and you look at it, it's got a lot of bruises on it. You know, it's got a lot of strange things that's happened to it. And I cut it into the heart, and the heart has two ventricles, the left and the right, and the arrow going through that heart goes into the right ventricle, pierces the heart. That shows that happens to everybody. You have a broken heart or something like that, and you can put your hands on that and you meditate with that piece too. We got those hearts on there. They have two meanings. They have Eleanor E, when you tip them that way, or they could be interpreted two hearts, which means open-heartedness to all. You follow me? She's been a very supportive individual all along, and put up with things, and also sacrificed a lot of things for eccentric type of goofiness, you know. Well. I'm
Put your
fine.
hands up on top. Or your hands are cold?
No, I'm fine.
When they do
Just-
it.
Okay, but we're trying to talk about something here. Thank you, Elmer. I'm glad you guys can see the humor of things. Certainly, because it takes kind of a goofy, crazy people to do stuff like this. I mean, other people wouldn't do that. You know, they'd go down and sit down at the pub or something like that, or look at the, football game on television or something like that.
And what's it like seeing this continuation? Where do you think it comes from, right off?
Well, he'll tell you himself that he works on stuff that amounts to something, and he can build anything, and he's a terrific son. You can't beat him. You can't, and he's also an engineer, and then he also's got the artistic aspect about trying to do something too, but he'll laugh about his dad and say, well, I work on the stuff that brings the money in. Yeah, well, that's true. I haven't been monkeying on chasing dollars for 25 years, you know. So I don't know how that happened, but I'm just putzing around with a few thousand ton of stuff, you know, and that's the end of that. Troy Oswell, when we worked together, was the best thing in the world. And so he laid all the stuff up. Everybody stood behind me like a movie director, and to get all the motions and stuff and the energy right. His stuff here on this side is by far the very best. But they're all put into these pieces, and the energy comes through all that stuff. But they got his energy in it, and they got other energy in it. They are the very best here. There's no question about it. Even when I train young people, tell them not to impose their will on already existing piece. They have a tendency to want to reshape it or cut something off of it or something like that. And I'm also taking and looking at the energy in it. Whoever engineered it before, that was for a purpose. And that engineering and energy carries forward. And if you don't impose that, and you just pick up whatever the little piece is and hold it up like, oh, well, that looks good, maybe it look better this way. Then you add some other little piece onto it. You're not imposing your will or saying that you know anything, but you pick up all those energy points, and when it comes out, it'll look at you.
There's the gentleman that'll be in this documentary also. His name's Jim. He's the person who's doing the castle.
Well, I would say so. He knows little rocks, and he picks up on the reality that rock fell down, and he can see that it would fit into his place. He may take it as it came down. And so he picks up the labor of, rather than reshape it, he's taking it in the form that the last thing happened, it fell down. I heard him on one film talk about that. He likes it back there doing that all by himself, you know, and he don't have the big cranes, and he has to use mechanical lifting stuff that's kind of primitive.
Okay, I'm just kind of getting this cable out of the way. I'm going to pick up this big rock. I think I'm going to try to pick up this big rock. It's kind of taxing the crane, a little bit overkill, but I kind of do that. I always overload my truck. I overload everything. I like to overload things. Well, if you get it done, you get a lot done. But if you make a mistake, then it costs you time and everything, because you got to fix things in. But let's see what happens here. And so, you know, anybody else would be using electric winch or something. This works just as well, and it is slow and steady and safe, unless it breaks up there and hits me in the head. Okay, I'm going to try working the other one now, because this one is. I've already bent the shaft right here. If I pick that rock up out of the ditch, that's a rock that somebody can't run into. You know, if that rolls down the mountain and lands on the edge of the road and somebody runs into it, they could get killed hitting a rock like that. So if I pull that out of the ditch somewhere, which I did, I'm doing a public service, and I'm building a national monument at the same time. Coming right up. Look at that sucker go up. You know that, when I get that up here, that's called progress.
Every night's a ball and chain, oh, without birth or growth or blooming. Every night's an open vein, a tourniquet to show I'm feeling.
Okey fucking dokey.
And every night's a vanquished mile, a race that's run but never winning. Oh, every night's a crooked smile to keep the chorus girls from singing. Oh, every night's a ball and chain. What a crooked cross to bear. Too many idle cries to help fall through a wicked vacant stare.
Wasn't in there this morning. An hour ago it wasn't there. Can you imagine how heavy all this stuff is? Can you imagine the weight in that? It's astronomical.
For every night's a ball and chain. I'll count the cards to wax the urge. The orphan says to me, behave, son. This bottle is my lesson learned. For every night's a ball and chain.
Anything for an attraction, anything to get their attention, because I'm actually doing something here. As a little nobody with no money, no rich daddy, high school dropout, working for a living, a true story, and then somebody like you comes along, and that I consider that important because people need to know the stories of what's going on all over this country. There's all kinds of projects called folk art, but people need to know about Bottle Village, the different things in Wisconsin, the metal sculpture gardens. My friend Charlotte Kemp up in Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor. I'm kind of winning the battle here because I've learned how to enter U.S. District Court and file on them and make them answer to my paperwork.
But he talks about it being a one-man project. In the true essence of the whole fact of the castle, it really isn't a one-man project. It's a one-man construction. He has built the castle, but the project is more than just what you see.
Peaceful common law remedy, and being your own clerk and secretary, and her doing all of her publicity and things she did running all around. What me as her worst enemy saying, well, you can't afford to be running all over the country. Somebody needs to run the gift shop.
He used to tell me that I was going to run the wheels off the car. I was going to wear the car out.
Then I says, what are you buying all this film for? It's expensive. Well, the history. Somebody's got to document.
I used to take pictures with this little silly camera, a lot of black and whites, turns them into slides, And he used to get real angry at me for buying the film to take the pictures. If I hadn't, we wouldn't have the beginning.
Then we started doing slideshows for schools, going around with our slideshows.
Children love them.
And I'll still do that, but nobody calls me because they're afraid I'd go nuts and start ranting and raving. I don't get any more calls on that because they say, oh, no, we don't want him in our auditorium. Okay, Paul, what we're looking at is the east front face of Bishop Castle. It's a result of all my work by hand. It represents freedom, liberty, and justice, my God-given talents, the American way of life, actually the world way of life, as a free person in a free world. That's what we're all supposed to be. None of us are really asked to be here, but a lot of people do the best they can. They use their God-given talents. There's a lot of real good people. Most people are inherently good. They just get caught up in things, and they try to keep up with the Joneses, and they try to, they got to pay bills and all this, but I raise a family. I'm doing the best I can. This is my epitaph. I won't need any tombstone or anything like that. I want to see how long I can live, what I can do with my hands. A monument to hardworking poor people, making it a monument to myself and a lot of other people. Ongoing. When I'm dead, I'm done, so I don't want to be done anytime soon. Well, one man can't really make a difference, but you can if the public's with you. It ain't one man. It may be one man's work. But being the public's coming here, maybe I can educate people as to what I think to be the truth as far as I know. Maybe it'll be a place of a little bit of education. The one man can make a difference, but it's got to be through a lot of people. Power in numbers, power of the public.
I don't want your salt water, and I don't need your bread. 'Cause all I want is another little spoonful in the palm of my hand. You ought to see my heart now. You ought to see my, you ought to see my, you ought to see my heart now. Oh, now I wonder why I'm older, why my bones seem to rust. Well, the trouble's never in the trying, well, it's always in the love. You ought to see my, you ought to see my, you ought to see my heart now. You ought to see my, you ought to see my, you ought to see my heart now. Now have you ever had that question, oh, that voice in your head? Well, it says, too young to die, oh, but you wish that you were dead. Oh, give me a little water now. Oh, give me a little water now. Oh, give me a little water right now. Sit down, give me a little water now. Oh, give me a little water now. Oh, give me a little water right now. Oh, bring me mother a glass of whiskey. Oh, bring that water for my thirst. Oh, I've been burned by our sweet little Savior. His disregard won't be the first. You ought to see my, you ought to see my, you ought to see my heart now. You ought to see my, you ought to see my, you ought to see my heart now. How many angels on a straight hill? How many breaths without a scene? How many stitches on your trousers? How many broken needle dreams? You ought to see. You ought to see.
You can answer that, Tom.
Well,
He's gonna fix your mic anyway.
okay. And it's I'm sitting in a wheelchair, on this is exact thing, and I got some people. Where are you from, New York, or where are you?
Los Angeles.
From Los Angeles, with a filming camera on me, taking it in the middle of a goddamn snowstorm. Can you imagine that? No, but that's where No, I ain't being a star. I'm crazy. For God's sakes.
I'm doing all the fucking work! You begin the sun. I'm doing all the fornicating work! When them bastards can work harder than me, then I'll respect them. But I don't respect anybody except somebody that works. They can stuff their money up their ass. It's all certificate of money anyway. It ain't even real money. What do they need money for? Just build factories and hydroponics.